Hi, Linda Sessions here, and welcome to week 2 in Business Communications. This week I'm excited. The Chiefs are playing this weekend. I am a Chiefs fan. I have been for a very, very long time, even before they actually started winning the games. So even if you're not a football fan, I hope there is something that you are looking forward to doing this weekend. So hopefully you're looking forward to doing some schoolwork and learning a little bit more about business communications. We're going to jump right in here and look at week 2 and what you can expect. So let me shrink this screen down here. Going to go into week 2. I'm going to leave this in instructor mode. It's going to look a little different than what you see, but I'm finding I'm having some issues when I go into student mode. So apologize for that, but I'm always here if you have questions. So in Module 1, you should have by Saturday the discussion board submitted. If you don't have the discussion board submitted, then you're not going to be counted present for the class. So make sure you have that discussion board submitted from week 1. Then on Sunday, you should have that grammar and mechanics submitted and turned in along with the chapter 1. So there's lots going on this week. Now, if you haven't turned any of that in yet, I will be sending some reminder emails out to students just letting you know, hey, you got assignments that are due, check in, check them out. You need to make sure that you get them done. So let's go on down here to Module 2, Team and Communication Across Differences. Now here in the checklist, it's going to go over the information. In Module 2, it's going to look at how you communicate with others. And that is a really big deal right now. Can you communicate with other people on your team, in your office, and even with your schoolwork? And then chapter 3 looks at how you need to communicate across differences. Maybe you're dealing with some people with different cultures. How do you deal with that? So there's so much information in these 2 chapters. We've got the learning outcomes, details on what you're going to be looking at in those 2 chapters, as well as the learning plan and then the assignments. For the assignments, of course, you're going to have the discussion board. We're going to look at that here in just one second. Then always you want to read through and review your chapter information. Now in the module, you also have the flashcards, and the flashcards are there to help you understand the terminology. Once you've finished reviewing the chapter, reviewing your flashcards, then go in. You've got the quiz to learn over the information, to learn it. Then you've got a quiz where you actually apply the information. You're given some scenarios and how would you actually apply it. And then you have a practice quiz, which is going to help you for the quiz that's going to be coming up in week 4, which is just a couple of weeks away. Chapter 2 is all over team and interpersonal communications. Now chapter 3 is communicating across differences. And as I said before, that's looking at cultural differences, economic differences, age differences. How do you communicate with somebody who looks at life from a different perspective than you do and still get the work done? So there's lots of stuff in chapter 3. Again, you've also have access to flashcards as well as a learn it quiz, how do you apply the information, and a practice quiz. So those are the assignments for Module 2. Now let's go into Module 2. I'm going to come back over here to the right hand side, scroll down to Module 2, and first we're going to look at some due dates here. The discussion board is due February 1st, so make sure you get that turned in. And then the module 2 or the chapter 2 assignments are all due also on February 1st, and chapter 3 are all due on February 2nd. Now, if you get them all done on February 1st, that's fine. You get them turned in early. Yeah, just don't be late. So let's start out by looking a little in detail at the number 2 discussion board. You can see somebody else has already answered this. You will not be able to read or respond to somebody's discussion boards until you respond yourself. So this one, we're talking about how the medium makes the message. How are you going to deliver the message? The most exciting idea could die a slow death if the incorrect medium is used to deliver it to your target audience. I live in a huge HOA, and for some reason, they think that the best way to get information out is through Facebook. I don't even look at our HOA Facebook account very often anymore. And most of the people in our HOA don't even have a Facebook account. So is that really the best way to get information out to our members? I would say no. Probably the best way to get the information out to our members is to actually mail the information, but for some reason we can't get our board to realize that. So how would you do that if you were a business? So in today's business world, selecting the most appropriate way to get your message across is crucial. You want to make sure that you reach your target audience. You have to know that target audience. So here I want you to look at some scenarios, share some instances. We want you to choose at least 2 of the following prompts and discuss them. Audience preferences. In your experience, how important is it to consider the preference of the audience when choosing a communication medium? What about technology's role? As I stated, our HOA, a lot of our people in our HOA are older. They don't even have Facebook accounts. So technology, not a good way to get information across. What about the complexity of the message? How would you get across a message that was very complex? And what's an example you might have of that? As well as cultural considerations. In your workplace, how does your company culture influence the choice of communication medium? I know some companies that still the best way to get information out is they mail postcards. Here at WSU Tech, usually it's sending an email out. So what about where you work? What is your company's culture of getting important communication across? So I want you to choose at least 2 of those prompts and answer them and provide examples, and then make sure you respond to one of your classmates as well in order to receive full credit for this discussion board in Module 2. Now, if we come back over here into Module 2, and I'm going to come down here, I'm going to go into Chapter 2, Team and Interpersonal Communication. Now, these chapters, I love this textbook. There's so much information in here. I have so much fun reading it and going over it myself. I love the e-text. Now, somebody asked me, is the text in the Bibliu reader the same? And it might look a little different, but it should be the same information. So if you want to read the information through the Bibliu reader, you're going to be okay. Here in Chapter 2, there's an introduction. It's going to talk about teams, different types of teams. You're going to get some questions on that in your quizzes. Accountability. If you have a team of 5, what's the accountability of each one of the members? Giving. What about if you have a virtual team? How are they going to communicate? Setting the goals, collaborating, and writing. I was on a team once where everybody had to write something, and that was a little bit of a sticky wicket. We had one person who just thought they needed to rewrite everything all the time. We couldn't get them to understand, hey, you really only need to look at your section. And then we had one person who would go back, and their responsibility was to edit to make sure everything flowed together, because we all had different writing styles. That was an interesting team to be on. What about business meetings? Do you need to have a formal business meeting? Sometimes, do you need to have a meeting at all? Or is it something that could have been done in an email? Ouch, I bet that struck a chord with a few of you. Nonverbal communication. Now, this is a biggie. Facial expressions and gestures. I mean, if you're in a meeting with your boss and you roll your eyes, then chances are they're going to see that, and they're going to take that as you're being disrespectful. Watch your nonverbal communication. It is just as important as your verbal communication, as well as in Zoom meetings. When you're in a Zoom meeting, you need to pay attention to your background. Now here, for my weekly videos, I like doing them in my home office because I want you to know a little bit more about me. So you can see from my background, I like the Chiefs. I've got a lot of ducks because I collect ducks, as y'all know. I've got my 3D printing stuff. I do a lot of crafting. I have fun with that. You can see in my bottom corner over here, I've got a lot of red. I'm getting ready for Valentine's Day. You learn a lot about somebody from their background. But if I was having a meeting in a really formal situation, I actually have a green screen that I can bring down so that I can change my background, or I could blur my background. I could make it be a little more formal, or I could even put a beach scene or a space scene. It's important, so you need to pay attention what your background looks like when you're doing those virtual meetings. All right, and then listening. Listening is important. There's a reason why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, as my daddy always used to tell me. So those are chapter 2. You don't need to do any of the assignments that are here in the bottom, but they do make for some good reading and some good thought-provoking ideas. There is a chapter summary that might help you as well. But if we come back to the chapter, if I click over here in the next corner, and I click here to open my content, you can see that I have my quiz. Or no, the next one is my, sorry, got ahead of myself, the flashcards. So I can click on it and I can see what the definition of a team is. So I can look through to make sure that I understand the vocabulary for the chapter. And then if I close this, well, actually, let's come back here and click on next. Now it's going to take me to the quiz. Now this problem set of questions is going to take you between 35 to 45 minutes to do. Now it can be open book, so you can leave your book open. It's going to take you a little longer. Now when we get to the midterm is timed. So you won't be able to look up every single question, but you'll be able to look up some of them. If I click on this to open my content, my test is going to pop up, and you can see describe ways to improve my team communication. There's my scores. You have 3 attempts. So if I click on this first one, here's my questions, and I'm going to go through, describe the ways to improve team communication. I'm going to go through each one of these, and I am going to choose the best answer. Now, after I've chosen the best answer, I'm going to go ahead and say grade it now. I'm not going to hit save and continue. I'm going to grade it now, and I can see I didn't get any of them right. So now I can come back through here and I can read the explanations, and I can see, why didn't I get that right? Or maybe you feel you got it right and you have a question, so you can send me an email and say, hey, check this out. What do you think? Then down here at the bottom, I can try another version. So I can click on this try another version, and here's 3 more questions. Describe ways to improve team communication. Now the questions are going to be different, but they're all going to come out of the chapter. So I can read through the questions, pick which ones I feel are the best answer, and I'm going to grade it now. And I still didn't get any right. So I'm going to read through the explanations, pay attention to what I'm reading. I'm going to try another version. I have a 3rd attempt to try to improve my score. So developing trust in a team helps the group. Which type of communication puts a team at risk of groupthink? Oh, wow. Let's say conformity. When will teams function the best? When they are accountable to themselves and the team. I'm going to choose that one. Now I'm going to choose grade it now. And you can see I got all 3 of them right. So I want to keep the highest score. That's what it's going to do. And so now it still is going to give me an explanation, because you might see some of these questions come up in another test. Now I can hit continue, and that number 1, those 3 points, that's what's going to be recorded in the grade book. So if you hit save and continue, that's going to record that grade. You want to choose grade it now, and then go back and review your grade. All right. So that way you have 3 chances to improve your grade and to show what you've learned in the chapter. If I don't have time to finish it, I can close it all out and I can go back in, and it's going to just pick up where I left off. So we're going to do that with chapter 2. We're going to do that with the Learn It quiz. You have the same type of setup with the Apply It quiz and the Practice quiz. And then in chapter 3, you're going to look at communicating across differences. And I find it interesting. My brother married a young lady from a Latino family, and her culture, her whole family culture is completely different from what I grew up with. And she's got a big family. They share a lot, and it made for some interesting times when we first got together and when we were learning each other. It was fun, and she has a blast to be around. I love her to pieces, and it was fun. And I tell you, I think the thing I love the most is the food, the different food culture. But what do you do when you're in a work situation and you've got different people from different cultures? Or if you're a student and you're trying to communicate with your instructor or with your other fellow teammates. So communicating across differences, this chapter is going to just offer you some tips on communication. And a lot of it is listening to each other and being open and realizing that everybody is looking at things from different perspectives. It's a very interesting chapter, and I hope you get some some good information out of it. You've got the flashcards there, and then you have your learn it, apply it, and practice quiz. So this communicating across differences, if I click on it here, go into the chapter, I think it's very interesting when you talk, shifting your mindset, realizing you have your own culture identities. I have a lot of fun because of my age. I look at things from one point of view, but because I'm in education, I am really open to new ideas and new looking at things in different ways. There's some things I'm stuck in the mud on, I'm sure, but I'm open to learning new things, and technology's always changing, being fluid, accepting differences. It starts with knowing yourself and your own viewpoint, and knowing when you're uncomfortable. And in today's world, there can be times when it is uncomfortable. I have some friends, we have some different political views, and it can get uncomfortable. And I've at times reached the point where I have just said, hey, we just have to agree to disagree. I'm not going to change your mind. You're not going to change mine. And that's okay. It's okay. We can still get things done. And that's managing through conflict. How can you still be productive when you're working with people who don't see things the same way you do? And how do you have those difficult conversations with people? So now I know this 3-4, especially in today's political climate. I was reading the newspaper today. Diversity, inclusion, and belonging. Whole sticky wicket. This class is not political and climate, and I am in no way, shape, or form bringing anything political to this. I want you to look at this chapter and how do you communicate with somebody who looks at topics different than you do? How do you communicate with them? Because you're going to run across that. You're going to have teamwork, and you're going to be dealing with people from different walks of life, different economic backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds. To me, I love it because I love learning things from new people and experiencing things I probably never will. I have a friend who travels all over the world, and I absolutely love visiting with her. And because she doesn't stay in the touristy place, she gets down, and gets in with the culture. And it's absolutely fascinating listening to her stories and learning from her. So how do you do that in the workforce? That's what this chapter is all about. So here in chapter 3, communicating across differences, we also have the flashcards, so you understand the terminology that the textbook is using, as well as the learn it, apply it, and practice it. So those are all due February 2nd. So that is module 2. I am here for you. If you have any questions, please reach out. I'm usually on campus Monday through Thursday during the day. I am more than happy to do a Zoom meeting with you if you need to at any point in time. We can work around your schedule. And I want you to be successful in this class. If you have difficulties reaching or getting into the textbook, or having some technical difficulties with the quizzes, again, reach out and let me know right away. Try to find some fun this weekend. Try to find something that you can be excited about, like me with the Chiefs. And let me know how you're doing. Watch for my email, especially if you're missing some assignments. And again, it's just a reminder that there are some assignments that are due this weekend. So I just want to make sure that you realize that. So we'll see you later. Bye.